What's up guys, welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your pizza-loving host, Zach, and today's subreddit is r/ProRevenge, with a couple bonuses from r/PettyRevenge. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode. This story's called, I Turned Off a Radio Station. In the 90s, I was the technical operator for a radio station. Long story short, I made production elements for them and adverts on top of my other duties. New management came in and decided to only pay me for the tech op shifts I had done and nothing for the production. First month he was there, I had invoiced for a little over £3,000 and received a £960 check. I ran the overnights, so when midnight came, I moved all my production into a hidden folder in System 32 and shut down the servers, threw the breakers, and left. I got a phone call in the morning and was asked to come in for a meeting, as I'd left them up the creek. I'd made pretty much 70 to 80% of all the adverts in production, stingers, idents, and montages. The new boss was an ass. He told me I'd damaged the product, which I just laughed at as before he came in, it was a great 80 station and he turned it into a top 40 station you could find up and down the dial. We'll call him Jay. I'd also found out that the sales staff were charging customers £200 for advert production. They were on 10% commission, and I was getting £40 for each advert, and they pocketed the rest on top of their commission. Bear in mind, the rest of the outsourced ads cost £150 to £200. In the meeting, I laid out my demands. I can restore everything, but I don't only want the money you owe me from the past month. I want the money from the previous adverts your sales staff had pocketed from my work. They essentially made £160 extra from each advert on top of their commission, around $300 to $400 a pop. There's no way we can do that. Well, there's no way I can restore the adverts. He's looking at pieces of paper on his desk. We can give you an extra £200 a month. I want the whole amount. I handed him an invoice that totaled a little over £16,000. Jay, the color now drained from his face. Jay. Pause for dramatic effect. You honor that invoice, or you will have to recreate or outsource all of the production. Okay, let me see what I can do. I'll sort something out for your next invoice date. Jay, another pause. If I don't walk out of here with my money today, you don't get them back. As soon as you restore them, I'll see what I can do. Jay, long, drawn-out, dramatic pause. I will have no guarantees, and I'm not stupid. A bank transfer today, and we can sort that out right here and now. Jay then phones the head office, and within the hour, I had every penny of it in my account. His face was a picture when he followed me to the server to watch me just move the files from one folder to the other. Yes, they were right under your nose. You'd best get home now and get some sleep. No, good luck tonight. Within 5 hours, I was in Spain where I stayed for 4 weeks. When I got back, I did hear through the grapevine that the sales team were out for blood. Jay bollocked and blamed them for being ripped off, and they all lost their commission for 3 months and just got basic pay to make up for the loss. I'm pretty sure the company made more than enough back from that to pay for my hostage negotiation. I used some of what was left to buy a laptop and started DJing around town for a few years. Back then, it was a rare sight and used to get nerdy types on a night out just hanging around the booths to see what I was doing with a computer in my pub. My friend used to say I looked like I was doing my homework. Wow, he really had them by the balls. That was pretty sick. This story's called, Think You Can Steal My Stuff and Get Away With It? Good luck studying for exams with a broken laptop. Back in my first year of college, I used to live in a residence on campus with 3 other dudes. 2 of them were cool, shout out to B-Dog and Al, but the third, named David, had a nasty habit of taking things that weren't his and mysteriously forgetting that the objects had fallen into his possession. Of the items he had stolen and were subsequently found in his room included food and snacks, notebooks, vapes, and earbuds, albeit cheap ones. We'd all complained to our RA, but since they were such small items, we were told that we should just have a house meeting and talk about it with David to have the problem fixed. We had 2 of those where he claimed, "It all looks so similar, how am I supposed to know which one's mine?" Considering that we all kept our crap in our rooms, this was obviously BS. But the RA, or residence assistant, said unless it was something major, campus police wouldn't launch an official investigation. So we instituted a masking tape policy and marked everything. But lo and behold, he still continued his petty theft. Knowing nothing would happen unless I took action, I planned my revenge. I shelled out $80 for something similar to this bad boy. It was a USB device that, once plugged into an unsecured USB port, fried the computer by building a charge and dispersing it into the port, pretty much destroying the CPU among other parts. Now obviously I wasn't gonna plant this anywhere, but I had to make it seem like this was a tool and not some sort of setup. So I had roped B-Dog and Owl in on my plan and installed this software called Device Lock, which protects USB ports from being used without express permission from the user on all of our devices. Also, just in case the butthole tried to plug it into our laptops. I even went as far as taping my name to the silicon time bomb. With them roped in, the last thing to do was wait and see if David had learned his lesson. It took all of 3 days, but expectedly, David did not learn his lesson. I was at the library when this happened, but David had decided that this sexy USB would be the perfect addition to his collection of stolen wares. So he went into my room and took it. Big mistake. I got a Snapchat from B-Dog that David was going postal and I needed to get back ASAP. I hightailed it, and when I got near our residence, I could physically hear David swearing and yelling from the hallway. When I got inside, he was screaming and cussing that he was gonna sue me for purposely trying to damage his laptop by booby-trapping a USB. Admittedly, I should have held my composure better, but I laughed in that mofo's face. I told him that the USB was clearly labeled with my name on my desk in my room, and I was using it to test whether my computer ports were secured from devices such as this. Screaming ensued from him, after which our RA showed up. He'd heard the crap fest from down the hall and asked what the hell was happening. I stayed quiet to let David attempt to lie his way out of this, but holy crap, this dumb crap kept to his story. After explaining my side, the RA said we are both going to campus police as this was pretty serious. Cue me thinking I just screwed up my whole future for a stupid act of revenge. When we got there and explained our stories, campus police had none of David's crap. They told him that 1, he cannot sue since this was not a trap, but a security tool that was within my own living space, of which he had no right entering to steal from, and 2, he was being relocated to the crappy single residences on the other side of campus, and if they caught wind of this again, he was getting banned for life from the residence, as well as receiving a non-academic offense, which is a nice little chat with the dean about his misconduct. His tone immediately flipped to crying and saying he had all his exam notes on there, and it was stress that was causing him to do this, and he had paid to live in the nicer dormitory-style housing. But they basically told him, tough crap, this is your one and final warning. The 3 of us enjoyed the rest of the summer with an extra bedroom for storage space and beer pong, which was definitely a win. As for David, I've only ever seen him in the cafeteria or library on occasion, sitting there, studying without his laptop. I'm of the opinion that if you want to sabotage your own goods that anyone shouldn't be able to legally obtain, then you should be able to go for it, you know? Obviously don't poison your food, like if your coworker's stealing it, but like maybe, like spiking with laxatives, that's a good one, which is illegal for some reason, I'm pretty sure, which is stupid because they're stealing. This story's called Not My Revenge, but My Professors Against Cheaters. I took the final for an engineering class this morning. Usually 1 or 2 people will go to the bathroom during class. However, for totally unknown reasons, about half of the class needed to use the restroom during the exam. Obviously, a vast majority of them were looking up the answers on their phones. This irritated me, but I just stayed focused and barely finished since it was a hard exam. I remembered that there was this one particular problem that was only barely related to the stuff we went over in class, where Part A was fairly easy, but I had no idea how to do Part B. I didn't fret over it too much though, since that part was only 5 points out of 100. Well, our professor, who was on the older side, and I would have thought was somewhat ignorant of technology, sent us an email just now explaining his diabolical plan to catch cheaters. Many of the students in this class use Chegg, a website that has answers to lots of homework questions if you're not familiar. To be fair, I have an account too, though I only used it for studying and checking homework solutions. Anyway, he explained that he was tired of people going to the bathroom and looking up answers on their phones, so he made the question I mentioned earlier as a trap. He purposefully made Part B impossible to solve, and about a month before the final, he got a TA with a Chegg account to ask the exact question, which was distinctly worded to be unique. He then created his own Chegg account and answered the question with a BS solution that seems right at first glance, but is actually fundamentally flawed, and very unlikely that the person would make the same assumptions and mistakes independently. He said that out of 99 exams, 14 of them fell for the trap, and that everyone who had his wrong solution on their exam was given a 0 and reported to the university for violating the academic honor pledge they signed on the front. He also sent an email to all the other professors in our department giving them the list of cheaters. Ooh, some preemptive revenge. Okay, that was pretty funny. Oh, that's terrifying too. Wait, don't they make you check your phones in for like finals and stuff? This story's called Cheat on Me, You'll Regret It. Note, everyone in this story is in high school. When I was in my early days of high school, I used to date this guy, James. When I was in that relationship, I thought that he was such a great guy. But now, I realize how awful he truly was. When we got together, James asked that we keep the relationship private, because he didn't want all that attention. His words, which now seems like a big red flag, but I didn't really think much of it at the time. So with the exception of both our immediate families, no one really knew we were together, we didn't go out that much, just hung out in school, like any typical high school relationship. One important thing to note is that I'm openly pan. My family and friends know it, James knows it, and basically everyone knows it and accepts it. James and I had one class together, and we had a mutual friend we'll call Ashlyn. Ash was a really sweet, kind girl who James met through an after-school math class they took together. He introduced her to me, and we immediately hit it off. James and Ash hung out quite a bit, but I didn't think anything of it at the time because I thought I could trust him. Another important thing is that Ash is bi and open, and she didn't know that I was dating James at the time. So one day, I was supposed to hang out at the Starbucks near our school with James, but he canceled a few hours before because he had a dentist appointment he didn't know about until the day of. I didn't want to cancel my plans completely, so I called up Ash and asked her if she'd like to hang out with me. She said sure, so we both met up. We were talking about a dance that was coming up at our school, and she casually mentioned that she now has someone to go with. I asked her what she meant, and she says that she has a boyfriend now. I, of course, was thrilled for her and asked her who it was. Then she drops the bombshell. James had asked her out and they were now dating. Ash said that he had asked her not to tell anyone, but she knew that she could trust me. Well, I was completely surprised and shocked by that information, so I told her the truth. When I finished, Ash didn't want to believe me, so I called James, who didn't know I was with her at the time. I said cheesy things like, "Hi baby, I miss you," and "I love you, do you love me more?" and "Am I your favorite girl?" and stuff like that. Ash was right there next to me, hearing everything. When I ended the call, she said that she believed me and that now we should go break up with him together. The next day, we saw James in the class we share with him. We told him everything we knew, and Ash and I broke up with him. He tried to defend himself and pled not guilty at first, but once he saw that there was no way out, he gave up and confessed to everything. Turns out, he wasn't as good of a guy as we thought he was. Ash and I left him to be. This incident brought me and Ash a lot closer together, and after a few years passed, we actually started to develop feelings for each other. I had a big crush on her and I was pretty sure she felt the same way about me. So I asked her out one day, she said yes, and now we're together. I love Ash with all my heart and I'm so glad to be dating her. I didn't get into a relationship with her to be petty, of course, but it still makes me smile every time James sees us together. He hates us being a couple. I'm so happy to be away from that relationship and to be dating this amazing, wonderful girl. Plus, I got sweet revenge on James. Wow. Okay, so a thing I've heard is that, like, it's a bad thing, you know, if a girl dates you and then all of a sudden she's dating a girl afterwards. Two girls date you, they leave you, and they start dating each other. That's gotta hurt, but obviously the dude's a scumbag. He deserves it because cheating is a no-go. This story's called, What is Your Final Destination? I'm a flight attendant for a major airline, and the entitlement I encounter is crazy. This week, passengers were boarding the flight as usual. Large roll-on bag on top, personal item underneath their seat. This lady comes on and half-asses her roll-on into the overhead bin. I mean, this bag is halfway sticking out from the bin. So we make an announcement. Ladies and gentlemen, please make sure your bag is properly placed in the overhead bin. This flight will be full, and if the bag does not fit as we are closing the bins, it will have to be checked. I can see the lady and she looks at her bag and stares out the window again. A second or third announcement are made, just for her. I can't stop the boarding process to talk to her directly, so whatever. I would have to deal with her bag at the end of boarding. True to our word, the flight is completely full, and so are the bins. I approach her luggage, and of course the bin does not close. I ask the general area whose bag I was holding as it does not fit as it's placed. That's my bag, but there's people's backpacks up there. Ask them to put them under the seat so you can make it fit. Also, there's a jacket behind my bag. My bag always fits up there, she says. There's nothing behind her bag. It's too long and won't fit perpendicular to the aisle. And the bin is so full, I can't place it in sideways. So I tell her this and ask what her final destination was so I could check it there. She refuses to tell me, again repeating to, "Make it work! Do your job!" We are approaching our departure time, so I'm already flustered with this lady. I said, "I'm sorry, I can't make it work. This bag needs to be checked." We made several announcements over the last 15 minutes and you had plenty of time to get your bag stowed properly. People have as much right to access these bins as you do, so I can't force other passengers to bring their items to accommodate yours. So I asked her again what her final destination was. She ignored me and stared out the window. "Ma'am?" No answer. "Ma'am?" Nothing. Fine. I take the bag down and hand it to the agent. "What's the final destination?" he asks. Our flight was headed to Chicago. I paused. Lubbock. Ooh! Oh, okay, that's pretty good. Okay, is this Lubbock, Texas? Because that's kind of out of the way. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.